Yo, what you lot saying? It's your boy here, and today we've got for you, it is an Indy 500 review for you guys. I know I said it in the Monaco Grand Prix I was going to do this, I am going to do it, so yeah, why not? It's the biggest race ever in racing, so yeah, it's almost 100 years old, so why not? I've been wanting to, I was thinking of doing it last year, but this year I was like booked on doing it. So yeah, we're going to be doing it. So, as you can tell by my voice, it was a very, very good one. Probably going to get a sore throat tomorrow, but whatever. It was an insane race. But before I go into that, I'm going to have to talk about practice and all that. And that we saw a lot of frightening accidents, and particularly we saw Helio Castroneves hit the wall coming out of turn 1. His car flipped over, upside down. Thankfully he was alright. It was a huge impact, but like I said, thankfully he was okay. We also saw another incident of Ed Carpenter. His car went airborne into the catch fencing coming out of turn 2. The car flipped, but thankfully, like I said, he was alright. The car fell back onto the ground safely, just coming out of turn 2, so yeah. Thankfully he was alright, but one man who wasn't and did not compete for the Indy 500 was James Hinchcliffe. He had a fiery accident, a very, very fiery accident coming out of turn 3. Don't know what happened. I think the car bit on him coming out of turn 3. The car lost control coming out of turn 3. He hit the wall very, very hard, and flames flew out of his car, and yeah, he did not come out. He did not come out with any. He did not walk back to the pits. So as a result, he did not compete in the Indy 500. So yeah. But yeah, moving on into the qualifying session the week before the main race. Excuse me. Week before the main race. We saw some really quick. We saw some really good speeds. In all of the drivers. Some of them went over 220 miles an hour, which is insane. But the pole sitter in the end was Scott Dixon with a speed of 226 miles per hour, an insane top speed right there. Behind him was last year's IndyCar champion, the reigning IndyCar champ, Will Power. Good result by him. Third was Simon Pagenaud. Yeah, so a very, very intriguing qualifying session, and yeah. So moving on into the race, it was a good start from all of the field, bar at the back, as Takuma Sato tried to go around the outside, coming out of turn 1 on Sage Karam, as he was side by side with Ryan Hunter-Reay. As soon as Sage moved into the barriers, into the wall, Takuma got squeezed out and put into the wall and collected Sage Karam. And then further forward, we also saw Ryan Briscoe getting taken out. Got spun around, but thankfully he was able to keep going. So yeah. Oh, and before the race as well, almost forgot. Connor Daly had problems, so he could not make the start of the Indy 500. As well too was Alex Tagliani due to a gearbox problem. So yeah, unfortunate for both of those drivers, as they could not make the start of the greatest race ever. So yeah. So coming back to the green with about 10 or 11, no, during the caution as well, we saw Simona Di Silvestro, 2 of the women competing in the Indy 500, run into the back of Juan Pablo Montoya. As a result, Juan Pablo had some rear wing damage, and Simona had from wing damage. Both had to go into the pits, so they dropped to the back. So yeah, unfortunate for Juan Pablo, who's running strong right up there in the top 10, so to be taken out like that was very unfortunate. But I think, to be honest, Simona really should have really just should have seen where she was going, to be honest, because that was a really silly manoeuvre, to be honest. In a safety car phase, wow, like those type of things you would expect in a green flag lap. No, we got that in a safety car, so very, very silly, immature behaviour by Simona Di Silvestro there. Should have just moved to the, should have just gone to the left or gone to the right of Montoya to avoid it. But in the end, but mind you, Montoya was moving as well, trying to avoid running into the back of another car ahead of him. So, I don't know, just really silly, to be honest. I think both of them just acted really silly. So yeah, and as a result, they paid the price for that. And as a result, the safety car was extended to lap 11, which then after the safety car came out, which meant that which then the green was called. We were back racing at the Indy 500, and we saw a lot of good passes going on. You know, that's what Indy 500 is all about. Just ultimate wheel-to-wheel battles. Just going for it, no risk, no fear whatsoever. That's what I loved, and we saw a lot of that during the race. And yeah, and the cars that went to the front early were the two Target Chip Ganassi's of Scott Dixon and 2013 winner Tony Kanaan. Tony was and both of them were really leapfrogging each other for the lead of the race. Tony going to the front, then Scott going to the front, so it was really a leapfrogging moment going on between them. But not to mention the Simon Pagenaud behind, who was really putting a lot of pressure on the Target Chip Ganassi. I think so much that he actually got past Scott Dixon to get second place there, so good move on Simon Pagenaud there to get to second place there. And then later on, we came into the first pit stops. Yes, we did. Yes, we came into the first pit stops. But as we came into the first pit stops, when Pablo made a mistake, he slid his car into the pit box. That cost him a little bit of time, but that wasn't the only drama. There was a big drama for the 18 and 19. As the 19 came off came out the pit box, he ran into both the crews that were ahead of him. He ran into the next door crew who were working on their car. He ran into them. He ran into two of the mechanics, and yeah, as a result, they were both taken. Well, I think one of them were taken to hospital. One of them had really serious injuries, which was taken to hospital. The other was alright afterwards. So yeah, great to see one of them out there alright. But sadly for the other, taken to hospital. Really, we don't like to see that, to be honest, particularly for mechanics who's especially for the mechanics who are risking it so much, you know, risking their lives so much because because just a few feet away from them is the cars that are going down the pit lane at about 60 miles an hour, and it's very daunting. It's very daunting, but they have a lot of fear. They have a lot of fearless minds, you know, to do that kind of stuff. You know, it's insane. But sadly, I mean, they got taken out in the worst possible moment, you know, and that was and the reason why is just because there were two cars that were coming down the pit road. He came out. They sent out the car just when there were two cars coming down that pit road at that point, and as a result, he slid to try and miss contact with them and ran into them. So, I hope they get better. My thoughts on Perez are definitely on them. I hope he makes a swift recovery from that, because that was a terrible incident there. So moving on, green flag was out, and we were back no, we weren't. No, green was still gone. The green was still going. We were still racing. Simon Pagenaud was in the lead of the race after the pit stop cycle, and really was dominating parts of the race. To be honest, He was looking really good, I think midway through the race. The car working beautifully for him. But then I think around lap 100 to 130, Carpenter ran into Oriol Servia going into turn 1, and both of them were out of the race. They both took each other out. Carpenter, I think he should have been a little bit less opportunistic, to be honest. I know, because because he was alongside just before going into the corner, and I think two into one going into that corner that is very narrow just isn't going to work out. 2 into 1 ain't going to work out. Something's got to give, and as a result, it was both of them hitting the wall and out of the race. Carpenter out for the second time in succession, so unlucky for him in the Indy 500. So yeah. And then later on we saw a dark horse and 2013 winner of the Indy 500, Tony Kanaan, crash into the wall coming out of turn 3. He tried to make a risk with his adjustments, but in the end did not pay off. He ran into the wall, and that was the end of his race. A golden opportunity to take the Indy 500 win blown away for him there. Hopefully he'll come back much more stronger for the next one, and maybe the next Indy 500 race. So yeah. And then later on, and then as a result, the caution was out, and yeah, and as a result, there was another pit cycle going on, and as they came out pit road, Scott Dixon, I believe, got the lead from Simon Pagenaud. No, from Will Power. Will Power got the lead, I believe, from Scott Dixon, Simon Pagenaud, and Montoya. I'm not sure if that's correct. Comment below if you know it. So yeah, but that's just a little guess, to be honest. And yes, so then coming to the end of the caution, we go back green, and yeah, it was a good start, I believe, from Scott Dixon. He made a good start. Tried to go on the inside of Will Power, didn't work, and yeah, there were a lot of battles going on between the four. And particularly with Charlie Kimball as well. Charlie Kimball was in 5th. I think he was running like 8th or 9th at the start of it. So nice work for him to get up the field and right in the thick of the action there, and right in sort of a place where if 4 of them were taken out, he could win the Indy 500. So he was in a really good spot to really take the Indy 500 win. So yeah, don't know what happened to Justin Wilson there, but he dropped from 5th to almost like last. So yeah, unlucky for him there. Don't know why, to be honest, but like I said, unlucky. But then afterwards we saw some stacking up going on. I think 10, 12 cars were getting stacked up as they were going into turn 3. I think due to traffic, to be honest. So yeah, as a result, as soon as they came into turn 4, something was gonna give, and that was Jack Hawksworth spinning out of control, and that as a result created a big crash, a monstrous crash coming out of turn 4. I'm not quite sure who the other 2 were, but I knew the car that was spinning was Jack Hawksworth. He spun and took out the 2 guys around him. They both were okay, and as a result they were out of the race. And yeah, like I said, all of them were okay. So yeah, and then before that as well, we also saw a crash as well. We saw this guy called Brian Kuta or whatnot. Brian Kudura. He spun off and crashed into the wall coming out of turn 4. Going through turn 4 on the outside wall, and that was the end of his race. Unlucky for him. He was running in a strong like 20th, 21st, so yeah, unlucky for him. Hopefully he can come back and try again in the next year's Indianapolis 500. So yeah, unlucky for him there. And then in the final 30 laps, we got this insane battle between Scott Dixon, Juan Pablo Montoya, Will Power, Charlie Kimball, and I believe that's it. So yeah, we got those 4-car battle going on. And also, yeah, Simon Pagenaud as well. Simon was in there as well, so we had a 5-car battle for the lead of the race. All of them were pushing as hard as they can, but one man was pushing even harder, and that was Juan Pablo Montoya, who made his way up the field. He was in 4th after the last caution, and moved his way up into the field and up into a vital spot, a golden opportunity to take the win in 2nd place. Ahead of him was Will Power, who was pushing as hard as he can. So was Scott Dixon. Scott was trying ever so hard to overtake Juan Pablo Montoya. By the way, Juan Pablo actually got ahead of Scott Dixon. Juan Pablo got ahead of Scott Dixon for 2nd with a beautiful move down the inside. Round the outside, I believe. I think into turn 1, I believe. So yeah, good move by Juan Pablo, and as a result, yeah, he was behind Will Power. And Juan Pablo was pushing as hard as he can, really charging on Will Power, and as a result, he got ahead of Will Power, going around the outside with a few laps to go of the Indy 500, and as a result, he got into the lead of the race. And really, in the last few laps, he was trying ever so hard to break the slipstream of Will Power there. No problems. I don't think he did anything wrong, in terms of the way he was weaving on the track. To be honest, he was trying to stop Will Power getting into the slipstream, which is fair enough, especially on speedways. So yeah. And then in the end, it was Juan Pablo Montoya who took his 2nd Indianapolis 500 win. His first was in 2000, running for, I think, Target Chip Ganassi. So yeah, this time he wins for Penske and takes the win over Will Power, who finished 2nd. Scott Dixon was in 3rd, good result by him. Simon, I believe, was in 4th, good result by him. Charlie Kimball 5th, good result by him. So yeah, a pretty damn good race, to be honest. Many congrats to Juan Pablo. He totally had this. He totally had it on the last lap and totally deserved it. The way he drove through the field, drove through the front of the field, drove through the field, I mean, was incredible. To come from having a rear wing damage, and going into the pits and being last, to taking the win of the Indy 500 was incredible. A very, very insane race. One that will go down in the history books as one of the best. So yeah, a very, very good win indeed for Juan Pablo Montoya. So there you go, guys. That was the Indianapolis 500 2015 review. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry if I got my facts a little bit wrong, to be honest. I'm just a little bit stoked from the win by Juan Pablo Montoya there. A fantastic win, like I said. So yeah, so that's been this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then hit that like button below. Subscribe if you're new, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. It's your boy, I'm out. Peace.